and there's something, and God, this is something I want to talk about today. How people, and I got into a debate with some female about this. She said, why most relationships don't work, or why, ain't no good man or good female. And I tell you, look, they said, it's not why ain't no good guy, it's just who you attract to.
No.
And I said
we can go right in here.
Wait. Someone at work.
No.
Okay.
No, we good.
Speaking, you got a pedigree on your forehead.
Wipe your head. Yeah, you good.
Yeah. But I tell, we got into the debate about this. She said, why
isn't there any good men
and I
or
told her
good
straight
women?
up, I kept it 100 way. I said, where'd you grow up? She said, I grew up in Long Beach. Are you a hood chick? Yeah. Who has the most kids? Hood couples.
So no.
Now, to a degree, yeah, I know what you're finna say. And
you ain't. We about to go here. We're gonna go here right. We're going here right off rip. We good.
But to a degree, most people or most females want the hood nigga.
We're gonna get there. No, we're gonna get there. Can I get him?
Yeah. Scratch it in.
Can I get him? No, we ain't scratching. We gonna skip the intro. We get right to the info.
This is gonna be one of those conversations. We need a timer for each.
No, forget this. Skip the intro.
Now we got a conversation. Go ahead.
Skip the intro.
Hold on, let me put my shit on silent.
Skip the intro. We get right to the info. Forget all this. Y'all got the right one today. Here, you asked. So she came to you. So she came to you and asked, "Why isn't there any good men to you?" Or if you put it to her, "Why isn't there any good women?" You kind of asked the wrong question in regards to it, because the very first thing I ask when somebody says that to me is, "What are you looking for in a man?" That's the very
no. I did ask that first.
So that's
before we got into the debate.
That's the very first question is, so what are you looking for? Because what you tend to find out is that a lot of women pass up a lot of good dudes because what they're looking for, to be honest with you, is out of their expectation range.
This shit finna get me and him in a lot of trouble.
No, forget all that.
We don't get
all that.
Me and you, we from so
yeah. So I'm
gonna keep it. I'm
gonna keep it super tall. And for everybody involved.
And we tables on this.
Yeah.
If they like it, they like it. I don't give a shit.
Don't mind, man. Go for my windbreaker.
Because
of the coming storm.
Yeah, because it's gonna get breezy up in here, and I ain't talking Chris Brown. Actually, we're gonna talk about that Chris Brown because it kind of ties into it a little bit later. Bank that. Now, the first reason why I said it's super important to figure out what they want, because women have this, especially in this era. Yeah, especially in this era.
It's high.
It is a super high, not just a high. There's a high expectations that women have, and there's a high expectation that guys have at this point. I'm being dead honest with you. You're in a different era than what it was in my era, where it was like the average dude has a chance. Because what they see is a lot of these women, they see the whole, I want this lifestyle. I want this. I want to get taken care of. Here's what they really want. And you see this all the time. I want somebody to treat me like a princess, and I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to put in any type of effort. All I have to do is just look a certain way, and the guy is supposed to do everything else. That's unrealistic. Now, the reason why I say, but see, then they say,
but to a degree, can the shoe fit on the other foot? What if a guy said, okay, this is what I'm looking for.
This is why I'm saying the expectation level is upside down. Now, most women, if they're being honest with you, that's really what they're trying to tell you. They just don't want to tell it to you, because here's what they're trying to say. Depending on who that person is, and depending on how you are with that one. So basically, what she was telling you, and don't take this the wrong way, the first thing I would have went at them is like, look, there's no good men or good, she said, there's no good men. Why aren't there any good men? Who are you talking to?
I should
Who
have.
are you? No, forget that. Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
If you can have the conversation with me, and you're gonna tell me dead in my face that there ain't no good man, who are you talking to? So I ain't a good dude, right? That's the first thing I'm saying. I ain't a good dude, right? There ain't no good man, so I ain't a good dude.
This is why I knew this was going to get us sturdy, because what you just said, I was
fact.
I was finna say that before we got in there.
And you want to know why?
But I didn't say that because like I said, I didn't know who she was entangling to.
Doesn't matter.
I kept it truly natural on that conversation.
Because the first thing is like, I'm a dude. I'm here, so I ain't good enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vic. Go ahead, jump in. Go ahead, jump in before I get.
You can't say you're talking about a specific person, then use the plural word men, because that you're talking about everybody.
Right.
No. Okay. So this is how the conversation. Okay. So look. Before we get into this is how come. Now I'm not gonna mention this person's name because I knew him for years and this and that together.
Okay.
But it would. Yeah, I know.
I love y'all, but
so. We was chopping up about, or something, we was talking about something, and then we just got into a conversation like, okay, Paul, how come it's not a lot of good men, but why a lot of relationships fails?
So that's two different pieces, by the way. But we're gonna address that. We're gonna address the why relationships fall apart differently.
You know, as a standpoint, for me, I clearly asked her, like you said, but I didn't say it the way you said. I just said, so what are you attracted to?
Right. So I get that. That's a solid question, but I think I would just
and she kept it 100 with me. She said, "Well, I'm attracted to good looks, guy who muscular and this and that." That's okay.
Right. No problem with that. No problem. We'll address that in a minute. No problem.
But to a degree, I asked her this, just like I said. I said, "So, what's your what do you want out of a relationship that you didn't get to any other relationships that you've been in?"
Yep. What'd she say?
What was the answer?
She couldn't give me an answer.
I know she couldn't. You want to know why? It's not the fact that, no. It's not the fact that she couldn't give you an answer. She didn't want to give you that answer. Because what she's going to admit is that it wasn't just the dude. Now, here's where a lot of women, y'all got me.
This is what I want.
Y'all got me with the clap. Got me with the clap. If I get to this, y'all know what's on, right?
Yes.
Here's the thing.
This is it.
Here's the thing. Women, like I told you, their expectation is super high. Mm-hmm. So they want a lot of things without putting the effort of what am I adding to make this work. So their lofty expectations is super high. And I'm not saying that guys don't have lofty expectations too. A lot of guys do. But most guys, the expectation is not nearly as what I call ridiculous as what women have. Women have things that are like almost to the point where they want what you call 1%ers.
Yeah. Now, a question for you, and I know you're gonna give me a correct answer. You've been around plenty of times. You dated,
Yeah, I trust me.
Majority from regular hood. This is
I've done this.
Question for you,
and you're not wrong. I have.
Question for you is: have you ever met and dated anybody, or even for who lower standard level of a different girl that you had with higher standards?
Yes.
Now, how did that person with the lower standards make you feel?
You got different results out of it, but here's what.
So basically, okay. So
you're getting different results.
What I'm saying is
so
have you dated somebody who has lower standards to the benefit from dating somebody who has higher standards?
So here's the thing about having somebody with lower standards versus somebody with higher standards. If that's the question.
Yeah.
So. The standards are always going to. I'm gonna be honest with you. The standards have always really been one and the same.
Yeah.
Now it's the approach to what those standards are is how it's interpreted differently. Here's what I mean by that. Everybody wants to be successful, right? Have a little bit of money to spend around, like like that. You typically You want people who are physically in a certain spectrum, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You want somebody who has some sort of drive, goal, ambition, things like that, right? You want all that stuff. These are things that most guys would want. Girls and guys kind of want the same thing, but the approach of how it's put together is a little bit different, if that makes sense. So when you say that, how is the standards interpreted, that's really dependent upon the person and the personality that you're dealing with. So with certain women that I dealt with, it was like, I need you to take care of it. You know, we have something financial, it's on you, you take care of it. I did that. Almost to the detriment of myself. Now, on the flip of that, here's what the trade-off was. There was a lot of good things that came out of said relationship by doing that, but the flip of it is that maintaining that for a long period of time was really hard to do that. And keep in mind, if that expectation is that for me, everybody else whom that person was interacting with is trying to feed into well, if he can't do this, I can. If he can't do this, I can. So there's other people that you're battling against who's trying to jump into the gap. They're orbiting.
So let me ask you this tricky question. And Vic, you can jump in on this if you have an opinion on this one. Do you think it's either a man or a female responsibility to check their spouse ego all the time?
Check the ego. Explain before I give an answer.
So basically, let's say a wife, is it a wife's responsibility to always maintain their husband's ego, or is it a husband's responsibility to maintain his wife's ego? So basically,
keeping him humble.
Basically, are you talking about now? When I say ego, I'm saying ego.
So let me put it in an example so you understand. So say for instance, like, okay, if your girl asks you, "Babe, do I look cute in this outfit?" Majority guys will say, "Yeah," but then reality, they don't want to really say like, "Man, that shit don't look good."
So you're saying if they're being truthful?
Yeah.
So maintaining their ego, like trying to gas them, even though they're not.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I don't know why you.
No. So I get it. I just use it in a slang. I just use it in a slang term, but it's a fine line.
Okay.
Because if you say that they don't look good, you better frame it the right way. Because again, their egos get shot when you say that, "Ooh, you don't look good," because then they'll take it all weirded out. It's the same, and don't get it wrong, it's the same thing for guys too.
Okay.
Don't get it wrong. There's a lot of guys who are like, well, maybe this outfit ain't working. Maybe this ain't working. No. Maybe this outfit doesn't work. Maybe you are putting on 15, 20 pounds or whatever it may be. That goes both ways. Now, you gotta be able to frame this to say it the right way so it doesn't come off like you being a butt about it. If that makes sense. So when you're saying like checking the ego, the one thing is, you gotta, in a relationship, you gotta be honest about that situation, because what I tell you about relationships, communication, trust, physical attraction. The physical attraction portion is important, especially when it comes to guys. We do feed off of that. So let's say that your girl was looking a certain way, then 6 months later, they look completely different. That doesn't mean you may not no less love them, but you do gotta be able to kind of let them know that, hey, look, honestly, you're kind of falling into, you're putting on some pounds, you do this, and they're gonna, and you gotta just be honest with them. Now, if you're being honest, you're saying the honest side. Now, they're not gonna like it, because most people ain't gonna like that. Hey, look, my dude telling me that he don't like the way that I look. No, they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it away.
You're right.
They're gonna take it away. But if you're being honest, it helps you and them, because either one or two things is going to happen. Either they're going to get better, or they're going to get out of your way.
That is a fact and true.
And sometimes they may, and they'll frame it like, well, I'm gonna keep it tall, and I don't want to use this in these terms, but I'm going to tell it in this way. He's a dick. He's an asshole. He's all this stuff because he said that I'm gaining weight. And the honest answer is, they know that they're gaining weight. But if you just tell them that they're gaining weight and you tell them that they're not looking the way that they probably should be, they're gonna get all butthurt about it because like, why my man telling me like this? Then they'll try to throw it back at you. There's a bunch of guys who are like me just the way that I am. But realistically, what they're saying is they know it, but you gotta frame it in a way that makes sense. So sometimes you gotta say, hey, look, you may be putting on a little bit of weight. So let's do this. Why don't we go to the gym and do this? Why don't we go hiking and do this? Why don't we do this? And sometimes you don't have to put it onto you're gaining weight. Sometimes you do it in let's start doing activities.
Hold on, Cam. Go ahead, Dave. I want to hear what you.
Just the way he's saying, like, oh, let's do that. I found this wonderful diet meal plan. It's really good for us.
Right. Yeah, no. But the reason why, because certain females, you gotta ease into that conversation.
Not sponsored, by the way, in any way, shape, or form. You've heard of HelloFresh?
Talk that HelloFresh talk.
It's like that. It's like, hey, baby, I got us these HelloFresh deals. 500 calories per meal.
But sometimes in the flip of that is, if you can frame it the right way, now you're telling them like, at least he's caring about me and what I look like, and he appreciates it. Now, certain women, and this is where each person is uniquely different. This is why you got to really kind of dive in to see what they're about. Mm-hmm. There's certain women who take a high pride in what they look like. And when I say high pride, I mean like they don't go out the house without looking a certain way. I call it the Mariah Carey thing.
You mean egotistical?
Almost to the point where it's egotistical. But there's people who take high pride in it. There's certain people who take no pride in it. We see it all the time. People fall out the house, wrinkled everything, coming out in pajamas and stuff. We were just having this conversation. You couldn't even walk out the house without getting like right. But that's not but here's the thing.
No, that's
I can't. No, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. When I'm saying like, because. He's correct. He's correct. I'm telling you, you walk out that door,
people gonna see you.
People gonna see you. So it's a kill switch in your mind. Okay, I don't want to walk out here looking raggedy, but sometimes people don't give a fuck if they don't. They in the shade.
You see them at work.
Yeah, you got to understand that if you are.
Plus, it's cool too.
Yeah, no, I got all that, but no, I ain't trying to do that to say that. But I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do that to say this. You got to understand two things when you're in a relationship or in single leading into a relationship. You are a walking advertisement. Mm-hmm. Everything that you do is promoting and advertising yourself. And I hate to say it like that, but it's just absolute truth. Because every single person who has eyes on you, they in their head, every female that looks at you are going to do one of two things as soon as they see you. He cute, he ain't cute. They're gonna do it subconsciously, and guys do this all the time. You can walk through any place. We could walk through a mall right now, and subconsciously in your head, you can see any female that is of age, of course. I have to. I gotta preface. I gotta preface that in this day and age with these stupid R. Kelly types. You automatically in your head say, cute, not cute, beautiful, not beautiful, this. You automatically subconsciously check it out. Because here's what happens. If somebody who catches your attention from a physical attraction point of view, what are you going to do? She looks pretty good. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to pursue her. That doesn't mean anything of that sort.
It's merely an observation.
It's just an observation. So you have to understand that if you do that,
I mean, for me, wise,
girls do that.
Yeah,
girls do that.
Because see, for me,
girls do that.
I don't even have to I don't even have to look my best. And I might get stuff like, hey, because what it is. Thank you, Victor. You pointed, and I told my mom the other day. I said, I might end up losing, my touch. She said, you never ain't gonna lose that touch. You
made her mad.
Yeah, because basically, I said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have pretty eyes. I can't help it. Okay, this is my main attraction. So I ended up telling my mama the other day. I said, hey, I don't think I have pretty eyes anymore. She's like, shit. The eyes ain't going nowhere. But from a standpoint as me from coming up, I always get compliment. Oh, you got pretty eye. Even from dudes, even from females who out of my league.
But here's the problem. You said something. Stop right there.
Yeah.
What's out of your league?
Not big. Okay, so
no. You make me say that. No. This is a good point. No. Good point. What's out of your What's out of your league?
You don't even gotta.
I can't even say the word.
No. You can say no. You can say. Okay, so you can say what's out of your. Why do you think a female is out of your league?
We need like a whiteboard. We need like this.
I really don't even have a real answer for that one. I don't care.
Because again, everybody, people think that just because a person looks a certain way, they have a certain stature, they're in a certain job, they're in a certain situation, they think that I can't compete, is what you're saying. You're saying they're out of their league. You're saying in your mind that I'm going to close myself out of an opportunity because I feel like I can't compete for her.
No, I'm not saying like compete wise or opportunity wise. Well,
that's basically
that's what you're saying. Have, but because I got him. You got me. Okay, you got me. No, I'm not, and I'm totally not going to deny that. What I'm saying is
I think the same way.
Because okay, for example, if I know this girl's a dime piece and a person like me come, if I approach her, I got to make sure my game is tight on that. Whatever words comes out of my mouth or whatever my body language say, it has to, present in her way. So now, don't get me wrong, I get starstruck if I see I ain't gonna even say pretty girl. If I see a baddie, I am gonna get starstruck. I'm just look and probably won't even have
why.
So
can I get the kids? I'm gonna get them, but I'm gonna do this with reason.
Okay,
I love you to death, but I'm gonna get him. So that means, in kids' terms, you're saying your Riz game ain't right.
No, I ain't saying that.
Hey.
What I'm saying is,
I'm not saying
you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
So put it in terms so everybody can say it.
I'm doing this with reason.
No. I'm glad you are.
Kids' terms, get your Riz up.
Yeah.
Now, I say that to say this. In all seriousness.
No, go for it.
He's being genuine.
Yeah, in all seriousness. Why don't you could compete for anything. When you say a person's out of your league, because I feel like that too. Mm-hmm. There's like a bunch of people like, look, I can't. There's no way possible I could be able to get this female at this point in time because you feeling yourself is like, I'm not good enough. I don't look this way. I don't have this. I don't have that. I can't compete is what you're really saying. Yeah. But I always say it's a closer's mentality when it comes to anything. What I mean by a closer's mentality is this. It's either two things that happens. We talk about it in sales all the time. And I'm gonna say this. And we say it in sales all the time. And you can take the quote from Boiler Room. It's either you close them or they close you on why they're telling you no. A lot of guys get opportunities because they really don't take no for an answer. It's just certain guys take that way too far, if that makes sense. So there is a line to that no. There's certain reasons why if they say no, I'm married. No, I'm in a relationship where it's tight. There's certain things where you have to say no and respect the no. Mm-hmm. There's certain instances, sometimes they may try to perpetrate that no, meaning that they'll say that to try to get you off, to get you off of them. Mm-hmm. But they're really not in a relationship. They're really not this. They're just telling you no for maybe a completely different reason. Yeah. So, but you got to figure out how to give yourself the best chance to get a yes. Yeah. You're not going to, in relationships and with females, you're not going to be able to get every single girl that you come across. It's no way possible. You got to be able to accept the rejection, but you got to have the mentality of, at the very least, if I don't give myself a chance to at least have a hi or a conversation or hey, how you doing? I just want to say that you are looking great today.
Oh,
I appreciate you coming through.
With.
And you know, if you get to the point where, hey, what's your name? Ooh, my name is blank, 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 blank. but you get to the point where you actually give yourself a fighting chance, then you can say that, look, I may not necessarily be out of the league. When you get pushed out of your league, a female will tell you, hey, look, here's what I'm looking for, and maybe you don't have exactly what I'm looking for. I get shut out for that a lot of times.
So, but to get back to the point I was, we was talking about when I got to that conversation with my friend. So, why? And it's not just everybody. What I'm saying, and it was something that we was talking about with the Will and Jada Pinkett situation. That she wanted the thug,
right?
Because she didn't get the thug.
So let's talk. So let's talk about that.
But now you got a good dude you've been married to. Well, if you wanted to marry him or not, you ain't finna turn down no money, no brother with no money. Who got some money. But what I'm saying is that to a person, whether if it's a guy or girl, gonna stand by the person who they with, whether if they, from the streets or not. It shouldn't always be about, I want the thug or I want the hood chick.
Because you want to know why?
It could be just a different mentality.
Because a lot of the
go ahead.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I know what you want to say. Go ahead.
A lot of the girls, they like the bad boy type because it's what they know. Because it's the whole, well, he's from the streets. He's this. He's not grounded. He's not nerd boy fresh. They are the opposite. They are the opposite of. They are the opposite of.
I'm sorry, but no. But
they are not. No, they are not nerd boy fresh. Not necessarily me. Though. But see, here's my. They are not. But the reason. But here's why I say this, because keep in mind what they're around. What they see.
Thank you.
No. Keep in mind what they're around, what they see, and all they know is the hood dudes are cool with the nerdy ones, quote unquote, like with the smart ones, the tech ones and stuff. But they don't really hang like that because the tech ones and all the other people, they don't do what the hood dudes do. We're not sitting there like drinking crazy, hitting J's like that. We're not doing that. We're doing different stuff. We're in two different social circles, at least for a long period of time. It was like that. Now, those social circles has came a lot closer. So, your nerd boy freshes and your street dudes, they're running in a little bit closer circle. So, you have a little bit mix of both. But what a lot of the girls still see is that the hood dudes put everything on display. The nerd boy freshes don't. They don't have to put the jewelry on. They don't have to put like the whole super designer fits. And I'm not saying it from like just anybody. A lot of your tech people, a lot of people who pull up into our store, multi-million-dollar people. You know, they come in, plain t-shirt, little cargo shorts, some Crocs, and a hat. Multi-million-dollar. Got a whole bunch of bread. They're just running in different circles. So when you talk about who you're dealing with, you got to think about the girl you're dealing with. So if these girls, you think like they're baddies, there's baddies across the whole spectrum. There is nerd girl freshes who are just as solid as your baddies that you are from the street. There's a good mix of both.
I totally agree with you on that.
And so you got to figure out in your decision-making process, what are you looking for? Because you got to figure out what goes on
always.
And the thing is that look, when you say that there is no good, when the female said there's no good guys, and the first thing I said is, what are you talking about? You looking at one? Just because I'm not maybe in your physical spectrum, that doesn't mean I'm not a good dude. You just don't know enough about me to understand that. sit in my circle for a little bit and you will understand why I'm good. That is what I would have said. Because that means that you ain't been exposed to enough people to figure out otherwise. So the people who you've been hanging around with may not be good, and you may see, and you see a lot of. And here's the flip. I'll let y'all jump in. Mm-hmm. The flip of it is, here's where, and I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. Here's where social media has messed up a lot of stuff, because the perception is that every time you see on your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikToks and stuff, what do you see? All the, pardon the term, all the fuckery that you see in relationships. This girl's doing this dude is doing this, girl gets flown out, talking all this stuff online, but didn't get flown out, don't want to do anything, knowing that this is what the situation was, trying to build something together. Dudes doing this, you see all these little cheating things, and even though they do it in a prank form, you see it in a prank form and they think that this is happening in real life, and you see this stuff and they get fed this stuff on their TikTok page, on their Instagram page, all the time. Relationship. Keep going.
I got something. Even watch this. Okay, so what is your take on open marriages?
Now,
and open relationships.
You shouldn't. And I'm gonna tell you why I say you shouldn't. If the Will and Jada thing has not taught y'all anything, it's that you shouldn't. I told you. Is that you shouldn't. Now, I say that
Go ahead.
to say this. I'm not gonna be the one to pass judgment on how y'all govern y'all relationships and y'all marriages and stuff. That is for y'all to determine in the confines of that relationship, because the parameters expand. Because I have seen in situations, and I know people who are in open relationships. I know people who are in open marriages, who swing, who do all this stuff. I know couples. And those relationships, ironically, has been strong for 7 years, 8 years. Marriage has been good for like 18, 19 years. They've been good for like 18, 19 years. So I'm not going to sit there and fault y'all. If y'all been married for 18, 19 years, I ain't going to sit there and fault y'all and be like, y'all been married 18, 19 years. I can't tell y'all no. Y'all figured out a way to work it out. Mm-hmm. And when you look at them on paper, you be like, at least to me, as far as like.
That's what social media does.
But what I'm saying is that the more people you involve in the relationship, the more issues you're going to occur. If you chose right, if you went to your relationship and you went through the whole spectrum and stuff and you chose right, you're going to have some gaps in the relationship, because in every relationship, there's no person that is perfect, not one. So you're going to have a flaw in every single relationship. Every single person has a flaw. So when you got two people put together, you're going to have flaws, plural, which means that in the relationship, you can have 90% of it working just fine. There's always going to be a 10% that's not going to work no matter what. Now, depending on what that 10% is and how y'all manage that 10% is always a kicker of if that relationship's going to succeed or fail.
And to get back to the point you just made, and you made a good point too, that when certain females or certain guys are curious about someone, they ask other people, but not come ask you first. Like, they hear stuff, and then their curiosity be like, you know what? I hear a lot of good things about you. You
get that all the time.
Yeah. So let me see what this person is about.
You get that all the time.
Instead of just, you know what? I know what this person is. I know what he's about. Let me go.
No, I'm gonna tell you, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Hold on.
So, top that. Anything in general on that? What I just said, or what he just said.
Oh, but when people go to other people talk about you? Mm-hmm. Well, that happens a lot. That doesn't even happen just for strictly romantic purposes. I mean, I remember I heard about you before I even talking to you through Greg. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started vibing together. That's just a general thing people do because, well, like for instance, earlier when you were talking about, I forgot you said her name. She goes, I didn't even know Victor talked.
Yeah.
Like for instance, it's like that. People typically go to other people that they think is associated with the person to learn more about them. And that's a smart thing to do because you don't want to know. You don't know if you're going to vibe with the person. You don't know if you're going to be able to get along with them. So instead of avoiding a possible confrontation or an unpleasant experience, you tend to just go ask other people. I view it's a natural thing. I don't think that's disrespectful. I think that's, if anything, considerate in a way because you don't want to waste their time, and certainly you don't want to waste yours.
It's high school. It's high school.
I knew you was gonna say that, but
it's high school, and the reason why I say it's high school because in high school, this is why I said what you learn in junior high and high school, it goes with you for the rest of your life. Because everything that we do in our society and in life is always have high school rules. Our government, high school rules. You know, the way we interact with people is high school. So in high school, 90% of the people do exactly what you just said. You want to know about somebody, you ask everybody else around them, and what precedes them is what they know. So let's say that, like how y'all met me. Y'all didn't know nothing about me, but what did y'all do? Y'all heard this is what this dude is, and y'all really didn't know really how I was. They really didn't. Nobody knew how I was.
And that goes.
And y'all didn't know how I was. All y'all heard was, oh, well, he's a hard worker and he seems like he's a good dude.
Yeah.
But how did y'all really know what I really was or wasn't?
Yeah. And the point you just made, like you said, like you heard me through Greg. So, and shout out to Greg, you're my dog. But your curiosity, like, okay, maybe
but
cool, I hear good things about you, and then it shows up into a conversation. So, but now to top your point is
now think about it from a female's point of view.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
So let's bring that in. So a female does literally the same thing. A lot of times, a female is not going to ask you directly unless they are like the 10%ers who are just bold enough and just want to just hey, hey, what's up? How you doing? There's certain females we interact with them all the time. There are certain females who just come up to you and say, hey, how you doing? Yada yada yada.
All the time.
But there's a lot of females who will always, what is his circle? So what they try to do, so let's say somebody wanted to get with you. They're going to look they'll wait. Who's the circle who he's around? So they'll pick who they figure is the most approachable out of that circle, and then they ask them. So when people will ask about you, you know who they're going to probably ask? Me. Why? Because I'm out of the three of us, I'm probably the least intimidating of the three. They're not going to ask you directly. They're not going to ask Vic directly.'re going to probably ask me. And the reason why I say I'm probably the least intimidating, because I don't look intimidating.
Is it because I'm black?
No, it's because you black and knees make you feel because you black and knees.
But no,
the reason why I say that because if a female was to ask, they're gonna ask. They may get to Victor first and be like, "Hey, look, what's Paul like? What is he really like?" They will ask, and the same thing like females will ask y'all about me. They will ask one of y'all, "What's Cam like? What's he really about?" Because they will want to know. And then, depending on what the circle says, depends on. and that's what I'm afraid of. It depends on what the circle says. But it depends on what the circle says. Depends on what their perception is going to be.
Like my best friend, I know him to death.
And this,
that nigga,
Yeah.
But that's your boys.
But guys do that. But certain dudes, they have the right intentions in mind. Like, well, he could get it in. He could do this. They say stuff like that because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to gas you to get that direction. But there's ways to go about it. It's just like how think about how the females interact with you now at the job. Just think about that. They don't just interact with you just cause. There is a rhyme and a reason behind that. That does not mean that all them females want to necessarily get with you or anything like that. But just for them to just talk to you, that's not by accident. Because that's not the natural order in which a lot of them they operate. The girls typically kick it with the girls, the guys kick it with the guys, right? But when you see the guys and the girls kind of interact with each other, that's not by accident. Sometimes it's by he's a supervisor, so I have to do that. But a lot of times, even with that being said, a lot of times they're not talking with them unless they know that they're cool enough to have those conversations. Yeah. Now, whether it's from a friendship point of view or a relationship point of view.
And you know what? You are right about it because even at the workplace. I got a lot of homegirls at the workplace.
Exactly.
Because, you know,
And
I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know.
And that's not saying you're trying to get, it's not like saying you're trying to get with them or anything like that.
I'm a cool person, you know.
But how did they get to that point? Because they had to find a way to break the ice. So one female,
funny or
so one female had to break the ice for you, or one dude had to say that, oh, he's cool. People who come talk to him and say what's up, and then from there, that one female figured out, well, if that female's cool with you, I'm good too.
Yeah,
it's the very high school thing. That's the reason why you get a lot of what you get. So when you talk about why, you know, a lot of these girls like the thug dudes, because in high school that's what it was.
Yeah, that's true.
They liked them in high school, and that's why I say you're not. You know, people swear that they're so evolved.
But you know, I get what you know.
No. People swear that they're so evolved from high school because I'm out of high school, I'm grown, I'm this, I'm that. You do everything that you've done in high school. Everything that these guys and girls have been doing in high school, they do it now. If y'all were a thug in junior high and high school, guess what? You're 9 times out of 10 you are a thug now, unless you had something that was life changing. That means you did like at least you went to jail, you did some time, and you said, "Look, I ain't gonna be a thug no more. I ain't a player. I just crush a lot." Okay,
big small.
They ain't big small.
I'm sorry. The wrong big.
Don't want to be a player no more. So people do that. Yeah. Why? Because in high school, they were a player, right? I had females, and then the one female that broke them out of that cycle. Yeah, Facts. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, there's always a female who could break you out of a lot of your dumb stuff. Because you're gonna love them, respect them, do a lot of that stuff so much that they're gonna break you out of that cycle. And
it's only one female who haven't done it to, and one even my ex. It's only been one female, and you are right about that. I do, but I'm a firm believer because of what you just said on that. Because I seen it happen even with. Oh, you got me on one right there.
I know, because again, I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
But here's where this is important. I'm gonna tie this real nice for you. The reason why I say that you're going to interact with people who are going to elevate you, make you better, because that's not on accident, that's on purpose. God puts people in your spot, male, female, circle alike, and they are going to change the dynamic
and that's going to go everything.
Right, it's going to change the dynamic of everything.
Because and it was so funny, and for some, who was it? Mike from the job. He told me this. He said, "Paul, you have a way of bringing everybody together. For some reason." He said, "Every time I tell him, you cool with everybody, and then you bring them together. Everybody hang out, have a good time. You know, you just that kind of person." And he said, and "That's one thing qualities. Again, I like about you because you cool. You know, everybody have a good time."
But see, that's not by accident.
Yeah,
that is on purpose. There's going to be certain guys going to come in and be like, "Look, I need to ride with these dudes." And you may not have to ride with them forever, but you got to ride with them for a period of time so you can learn something, because the Lord has a weird way of kind of guiding you through certain things, even though you may think that it's bad for a period of time, but it's designed for you to learn certain things. So when you get to a better point, you can reference that, be like, "I remember when I messed this up. Now I'm here. Now I know how to correct it now." You're going to go through a situation with females and say that a female, people like your girl said, there's no good dudes. No, you just interacted with bad ones. And you ain't learned just yet how to turn the corner yourself and start looking for something that's a little bit different that may help and benefit you. You haven't learned the lesson that the Lord's been trying to feed to you the whole time just yet. So the whole thing is, you're going to go through the same thing over and over and over and over again until you figure out that this is what I need to become better, or this is what I need to make myself in a position where it's going to be good. Take Ron, for example. Nah, I'm not. I'll edit it. But the reason why I say that is super important, because when you're connected with somebody who could bring out that type joy, that type energy, change your lifestyle to make you be better, because that person who's with you is helping you become better. Y'all build as a unit together, make you better. You can instantly see that man, because of her being in his life, he is instantly a different person. He is not nearly as moody. He is a lot more excited about doing everything, not just his job. He's excited to do everything now. Why? Because the Lord put her in his life to make sure that happens. And for now, I say that
and a good you're not wrong, because a good woman can make us.
And that has nothing to do with, well, she may not look like this. She may not have this type money. He may not look like this. He may not have this type money. He may just work just this job or whatever it may be. Are they happy? Are they building? Are they being better for each other? That is not by accident. And if people really look at that aspect, then you'll be like, that's what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with money. That has nothing to do with, well, this person is a bad. Now, they can be in that physical spectrum, but it doesn't have to be. You want somebody who's going to be able to get you to that point to get that type happiness for that result. And once you get to that point, what you got to do is, like Will Smith said in Hitch, not to mess it up. That's what it is. That's all that it is. The Lord put her in his life. Mm-hmm. You see the result. Mm-hmm. And what did that look? And what did everybody say? They good for each other.
Mm-hmm. I even told them. I told them what was saying.
And you can clearly see that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a whole bunch of relationships in that mix, and you can be like, nah, ain't gonna work. They alright. They ain't gonna work. They alright. But when you see them, they work. And that's not because we could. That's not because we're cool. I'm just saying, from an outsider looking in, that's what you will want.
Yes.
And when you see that you may be in a situation where it's not like that, all it's going to tell you is that probably I should change my situation up to make sure that it's something like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with you on that, brother.
So when you say, or when the female says, there's not any good men out there, the first thing you should say is that you looking at one for one. Mm-hmm. Now they be like, well, I don't really like it. I didn't say that.
You got me saying the same thing.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that I'm trying to get with you and you're trying to get with me per se. Mm-hmm. But you cannot say that there's no good men out there. Like a guy cannot say there's no good women out there. There is. Broaden what you're looking for. Ask the right questions in regards to, go ahead. Ask the right question in regards to whom you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself, what are you really looking for? Because if you're looking for something with super high expectations that you know that's probably not obtainable, what do you want? You want monetary happiness or you want relationship happiness? You want sex happiness or do you want relationship happiness? Because I guarantee you could probably get all of the above. You could get somebody who looks good. You could get somebody who, could help you build to make some money. You could get somebody where you could do a whole bunch of fun stuff. You could get somebody who can inspire you. You could get all that. And they may not have all those qualities. You may not see all those qualities initially. You may only see one quality. But you got to be around a person to figure out the other ones. But I get it. I get the whole, I can't compete for certain females. I get that. I get that all the time. Mm-hmm. When you run with the circle of people who look much better than you do, because everybody has always told you that, yeah, you cool, but you don't look like this. I get been getting told that my whole life. I got it. And the whole thing is, I embrace it. I call it it's the good luck Chuck thing.
Oh, said the movie, but
it's the good luck Chuck thing. It's like, look, I know that I have the ability to better people, and it's funny because I call it the good luck Chuck, and I ain't gonna go into it. I'm gonna have a whole episode literally based upon my life and how this affects. But every single situation I've been in, once I released it and got out of it, they have been in a much better situation because of everything that was learned while they were in front of me.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
But I say that, but when I'm saying that, when you got to look, and this is what I say, when you're having those conversations, like, look, and I tell females all the time, you really be careful what you say, because if you say that to the right person, you're going to have really tough conversations. Those tough conversations you're going to be having with yourself, because you're going to question a lot of who you are and your expectations and how you're seeing people. Because what you're seeing is, you're just seeing it from the glass of social media. Ooh, I see this guy with his cars. I see these people going on trips and and stuff all the time. Those are 1%ers. 1%ers get a chance to go on vacation once a month. 1%ers are the ones who's making $150,000 and driving around in these fancy cars and stuff. And a lot of people who's actually doing all this stuff is living way above their means, and they really don't have it like that. They're just shining it like that, but they don't really have it like that. There's only a handful of people who really got it like that. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the money thing, when it comes to the thug thing, you really want a thug? You really want your dude in jail in a year and a half, and you got to see them behind bars and stuff. Y'all maybe have a kid, and the kid can't see their dad for like 6, 7, 8 years because they locked up in the joint. You really want a thug? But people don't want to have those hard conversations because, like, oh, I want the bad boy, I want this. But do you really want that? You want to be in that situation where you're around a whole bunch of thugs, and that can get shot up at any point in time. Y'all go to any function, no matter where you go. Do y'all really want that? But women don't want to hear that side of the conversation because, like, oh, well, you're just hating. No, I'm not.
It's all romanticized.
Right. It's gas. It's gas. You're right.
It's all rose-tinted glasses, if you will. Obviously, when you wear rose-tinted glasses, you don't see red flags.
Right. And it's the same thing for us. We get the whole... for guys, it's the same thing. We get the whole, our girl got to look like an Instagram model. Our girl got to be like a porn star. Our girl got to be like this. Because you want to know why? Because it's a very lofty aspiration. You want to know who your Instagram models with? Your 1%ers. Your Instagram models is chilling with athletes and that, in that demographic. And even then, those athletes, even with the money, can't hold them.
What you're explaining is a disease.
Because, like I said, the aspirations is high. So here's what we do as guys. We may look for these things from a physical aspect and omit the other stuff. So a girl could look a certain way and, could look like a 10, but be dumb as rocks, not working a job, not doing any of these things, got kids, all this stuff, expect you to pay and cater to everything that they do, and they not do nothing, but just because they look a certain way. Is that really beneficial for you? Yeah, you can have arm candy all you want to, but is that person helping you? Is that person helping you build to something better? There's certain women who came from some stuff, who are athletes' wives and stuff, but they're in the trenches, making sure their dude is like there and helping them train and then taking care of a lot of stuff in the household and stuff. There's certain women who are like that. You got to figure out what you want when you say, "Oh, there's no good women out there." I beg to differ. There's good. You run. I'm gonna tell you right now. Girls run across good guys every single day. Guys run across good girls every single day. What they don't want to do is admit to themselves is that I may be sitting in a circle with a whole bunch of good dudes. and I don't want to, and I'm gonna bypass all of them because either A, I'm too afraid to really explore that opportunity. B, they may not physically be in my spectrum. Or C, well, we're just friends. So they try to friend zone them. But really what they're saying is that I just don't want to explore that opportunity because I really want this, because I see this and I really want this, because their lifestyle is wanting this aspect. And so I always say, be careful for what you ask for, because it may be good for a period of time, but it may be detrimental. Because what you hear a lot of times with a lot of these people who get into these relationships with 1%ers is that when a girl gets with a guy who has all this money and lifestyle and all this stuff, do you really think that you're the only one that he could pull? You know that he could pull, because of the money, he could have a whole laundry line of women running in and out of there. And you could clearly see it. And then they get mad and butthurt. Well, I thought you were there for me. I thought it was just for me.
You can't turn the hood into a house.
Because you gotta understand, just because you gotta understand, if he
had
had
turn the hood brother into a house person,
because if he had
access, does not work.
Because if he had access,
and I'll say this to a content: you cannot turn a hood brother into a house brother. That does not work.
Because when you have people who have that type of access, there's certain guys and there's certain women. Whether there's women who got buku amounts of money and stuff, and they will take care of their dude. So in certain aspects, yes, you gotta, you gotta just match up, But a lot of times, those people in high profile, they don't want people to necessarily match up to their lifestyle and their everything. Sometimes what they want is just somebody just to be in support and be in the trenches with them. Just be in the trenches when we come travel, come hang out, be in the trenches.
Yeah,
come do that.
Wrong with that. Like I said,
but people see that. But a lot of people don't want to. Well, if I'm with this female who's doing this, it's not about me just riding them just because they have a buttload of money. It's about how am I going to make them better? Because they didn't choose you on accident. You were chose on purpose. So you need to figure out what that purpose is and try to be a positive benefit towards that person. Yeah. There's a lot of things, and again, I know there's a lot of things I'm throwing here.
No, you are correct, because a lot of those, who knows if I had that type, not even type of that words of wisdom, I'll probably still be married to this day. But
but even that happened for a reason.
Yeah.
I busted up relationships, marriages, with reason. Yeah. Did it suck that I have to separate the kids from their mom and their dad and stuff and go through all that? Yes. But is me and my ex-wife cool now? We're cool now. Mm-hmm. Now, is it perfect? No. But we're in a much better position than what we were maybe 7-8 years ago. That's an absolute fact. Is the kids cool? The kids are always cool. They always will be cool. But if we were together, maybe that whole situation is different. Maybe it'd be cool for the kids, but maybe it'd be super detrimental to us. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm a much different person. Maybe I am. I can guarantee you, if we were still together, I guarantee you we're not sitting here having this conversation. Because I wouldn't have been here to have it. And I wouldn't have had that life experience to say that, I messed this up and here's the reason why. And for me to be able to teach y'all fellas why I messed up, why I messed up a whole lot of money in the marriage, why that marriage failed, why it wasn't just her, it was me too. There was a lot of stuff that happened.
And I will say this with content. When my marriage failed, it wasn't all her. It was me too. I came in a relationship with shit, and I will admit to that.
And here's why I understand where certain females have that perspective. So to my ex-wife, I was the bad guy for a period of time. I was the great one and the bad one. Now I'm the cool one again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But for a period of time, she was saying, well, if he, who is good, and we broke up, they can't, there's not a lot of good guys out there. Because of our situation. That was her perspective. Mm-hmm. And I could clearly say that, I could have said the same thing. Well, there's no good females out there. And I had that, had that on me too. But really what it came down to is that, look, we had to make that separation, or we could have been much more detrimental to each other. Detrimental meaning that we would have been. Sometimes I had to like slow down the vocab a little bit because somebody told me.
You got a high education on that. They
but
don't know how to use that word.
But what I'm saying is that it just kind of, I was the bad guy to her, and so she for a period of time was like, it was hard to like, figure out if guys were good because of me. So I get where women get that perspective because their first couple of relationships makes or breaks their perception on guys as a whole, because a lot of people want to put everybody into a box. All Walmart people are like this. All Google people are like this. All hood dudes are like this. They're not. Each person is a person. So you got to treat each person individually. Just because that relationship didn't work with my ex-wife, that doesn't mean that she's a terrible woman. That doesn't mean I'm a terrible dude. That just means that it just didn't work. Does that make sense? And I may be more beneficial.
And I tell this to
being with somebody else.
When everybody asks me, about my ex, I said, she's not a terrible person. She's a hell of a nurse. She's a good mother, and always, I necessarily never thought, I always learned from her on a different aspect, because the shit that I don't know, she knew. And the shit that she didn't know, I knew. So, benefit of the doubt, it always worked, always worked in favor.
Right.
Now, we could have been better. Yeah, I admit.
Of course.
But, everybody's different, everybody's not perfect. And I'm a man of my word, I made some mistakes, and I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Oh yeah, no.
And that goes for anybody. Any relationship you do, everybody's not perfect.
But when I
to bring back to your point is to the degree you played both sides of the road. You played the good guy and you played the bad guy. Now, my question to you is, what made you in that position to play both of those roles?
No, because here's the reason why. Good question. So I was the good guy because we were straight when it came to like, hanging out and doing all that stuff. Yes. Yeah, we were really good when it came to like taking care of the kids and stuff in the marriage. Yes, absolutely. But through just separation of philosophies, and a lot of it was, we didn't handle money well. She didn't handle money well. I didn't handle money well. That put a big damper on what we did. Yeah, her family had a lot of influence on her about her perspective on me. My family had a lot of influence on me of my perspective of her. A lot of that stuff came into play. I was young. We were both young. We were both immature. And what it started to do, it started to cause it. It started to cause a divide.
Because he's not wrong, and I felt a little touched right there because I've been in that situation too.
So
I came to my family with her, and and I had to sit. I thought, and not to cut you, I thought about this not too long ago, Vic. Is that the reason why? Because, and I tell everybody, if you're gonna do something with somebody, you gotta make sure you have total disclosure. Meaning is, if you're willing to sacrifice everything to be with that person, you gotta always remember, you gotta keep your personal business to your motherfucking self, whether your people around you like it or not. They may not agree with you, but at the end of the day, you still gotta make decisions for yourself, regardless who you be with or not, whether that person is good for you or not. You see what I'm saying? Because, like I said, even we all been around the block. I can't, justify, my parents been with.
So I'll add to that a little bit. So you're kind of right in that regard. But here's the thing: if I'm in a relationship, I'm not going to shield from my family and my circle. If that makes sense. I'm not going to.
But see,
but why I say that is this: because even when I was with my ex, even though ultimately she may have been bad for me, there was still a lot of great things that came out of that by me being with her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I learned so much about myself. I'm going to be dead honest with you. My confidence level by being with my ex put me in a different... put me in a different stratosphere, even though it was detrimental. It was a lot of things that was detrimental about that. It was detrimental because I had, I got out of my got out of my marriage with my wife. I was with another female.
I'm so glad you said this because
I was with another female. I presented them, and there was a lot of good things that came out of it, even though she was bad for me.
Here's my question: why are family members so afraid of that?
Because they're trying to shield you from their mess ups.
Okay.
They're trying to shield you because they're going to have this perspective is there's nobody that is good enough. There's nobody, and they'll tell it doesn't matter who you bring around. Now when you bring the one who they think is like, I might hate saying this like this, but pardon the expression. When you bring somebody who they figure is worthy enough to sit at the table, worthy enough to come in and be presented to them, then they'll be like, well, it's cool. And I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of it has to do with it's the same. They judge off the same stupid criteria. Ooh, well, she looks cool. She's a cool personality. She's this, she's that. That's how they judge it. When I had brought my ex to a family function, and when me and my mom had my one and only major argument I have with my mom in a public space ever, is when I had brought my ex to a birthday party. It was a birthday party for my daughter Silhouette. This was after I had broke up the marriage and everything, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. We got into a big argument about my ex Kim. We were, like when I said, like, Kim was good and bad for me. She was good for so many different things and bad for me for a lot of different things. But my mom wasn't cool with it. The rest of the family kind of were cool with me and her being together because they were like, look, well, he chose it, and he brings her around. He brings her to the family. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, if he's cool, we cool. My mom wasn't like that. My mom was like, didn't really like her off jump, which is fine. But it caused a lot of discord, if that makes sense. Because what my mom was trying to do was shield me from the dumb stuff that she kind of foresaw with her. Mm-hmm. My family was like, let him kind of experience it, and we'll see as we go along. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the reason why your family's going to have that, because they're going to try to shield you from their... And
see, with that, and I think that's bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad. Okay, it both were good and bad. The reason why I say that because like for example, and I'll say this thing: my uncle, God rest up, I love him to death. He showed me some shit. He taught me some shit. Basically, he raised me a little. Now, I'll keep in mind, and I'll say this good thing: my uncle was a hood nigga. He'd been in jail, but he had women and this and that and the other. He knew what he was, and he told me this straight up. Could he been better? Yeah. He been married before? Yeah. But though, like I asked him, do you have any regrets on anything else? He said, only regret I ever had, and he told me this to the day he died, is not being with the person that I really wanted to be.
Oh yeah. Anybody.
So from me standpoint, like my uncle's bread, boy, you know how many girls you know who want to mess with you that I know who want to mess, but you choose not to. I said, yeah.
And this is why I said. Goes back to that original question you said about is there good women or is there good men? A lot of times we'll pass on certain ones that we probably should have been with.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but I'm going to.
No, but hold on. You had your hand up. Go ahead. You had your hand up. You had a question? Or...
No, I'm just flexing my hand. It's falling asleep.
Sorry, my bad.
Because this brother over here preaching today. It's like such first. I know we feel like I'm at church on first Sunday. Gotta start passing down correction plate. Got any crackers?
I'll take your juice.
But hold on. Before we get any more of this, so can you? Is it what? I don't even know what episode we on. We on episode what 40?
Whoa. Like I said, we skipped the intro, but we'll double back for We'll double back for all that. Sorry, I promise y'all. Don't worry about that. So I passed on somebody who I probably should have been with. Now, I'm not mad that it happened because ultimately we weren't supposed to be with each other, even though everybody probably would have, like, if you penciled in like me and this person, and you'd have penciled in who I should have been with and by how we worked together and everything else, I should have been with that person. I even tried to pursue it, but circumstances dictated it was a no. And because of those circumstances, I never spun the block to ask again, because a lot of that was on me. And I know why, because I didn't want to deal with the rejection, but really what it was, and like in like full disclosure, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take on being with her. You know, when you say the being out of the league conversation, that's literally how I felt when it came to her. I felt like there is no way possible that I could be with her, even though she is tailor-made for me. And everybody said that y'all should have been with each other. Everybody said this. She was tailor-made. And I could not get to the point where I was prepared enough.
Your confidence wasn't in it?
After getting shut down, it was like, apparently I'm not good enough. But not like I didn't take a swing at it. I did. But it was like, nah, we shouldn't do this but the reasoning was the exact right reason of why we shouldn't have done it at that time. Because there was a lot of different, and I don't want to go into details because I would tell y'all off camera, but I ain't going to do it here. Because there's a lot of details that goes into that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, being out of my league, like mentally being out of the league, derailed me for a period of time, because it's like, if I can't get to her, who I know that tailor-made for me, and I knew she was tailor-made for me. She knew that I probably was tailor-made for her. It's just she was more ready. I wasn't ready. It was no way, and the whole thing was, and in my mind, I was like, there's no way I could catch up. In my mind, I'm thinking that there's no way that I could get my bag up. There's no way I could get my looks up. There's no way I could get anything up to match up with her. She was on a much different scale to what I was. Not just from a looks point of view, from a finance point of view, status point of view. She was, and still is, up there. But come to find out, she was still, if I would have went into that situation, or if I wouldn't have, I'll say it like this. Now, I wasn't going to go there, but I'm gonna tell it to y'all like this. And I really didn't want to like dive into it, but I am going to dive into it in a minute. Before I got married to my ex-wife, my mom said, "Did you speak to her?" The person who I'm referring to.
Yes.
I didn't. But if I would have, I probably wouldn't have got married, and it would have changed the whole trajectory of everything. And I know,
you mean speak like to your ex-wife was?
No, not to my ex-wife, but to the girl who I'm referring to.
I get what you're saying now.
And the reason why she said it is because I think that she would have convinced me enough to not have married my ex-wife. That makes sense?
That's deep.
Because you want to know why? Because I think, she was cool with, I'm gonna be dead honest, she was cool with us being married, but it wasn't her. It was like one of those bittersweet things. I'm just being honest with you. I'm being honest with you.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at because I know.
It's one of those bittersweet things. Like he's married, it's cool.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of like he's off the table now. So even if I want to, I cannot re-engage. And even if I was thinking about giving him an opportunity, I can't now. That's why I said it's tough, because if I would have made that call, I'm pretty sure I would have had a legit shot of making that relationship work. And it would have kind of negated the lack of confidence that I had prior to. Now, my ex-wife, on the flip side of the coin, we had a lot of good things working within our relationship. Like I said, 85 to 90% of it worked.
You guys got 2 beautiful kids.
It's just the 10% that didn't work, just didn't work. And that was on both of us. Because we didn't build it. We didn't do everything possible to make it work. That was on us.
Yeah, kind of.
That was on us. That's not just on me. That's just not on her. What you're saying on it just was on us. But in theory, like I said, if I would have went to the other girl, my confidence would have been different. But like I said, that's with reason. And I keep telling people that it's not like that didn't happen with reason. I needed to go through that, and I needed to understand that. To understand that this all happened for a reason. I wasn't supposed to be with her. I was supposed to go through this marriage to have my 2 kids, of course. Kid. And that's why I said the Lord throws you through a lot of situations. And he threw me through a dive into a lot of stuff that I probably, some of it I could have avoided. Like I said, a lot of it's self-inflicted. A lot of it was inflicted because of others. I could attest to that too. But I had to go through it to get to here to talk about it.
How it is. That's life, full of trials and tribulations.
Right. But you got to go through it. And this is why I said, even in the failures, does that shape? Now, through those failures in the relationship that I missed on, the ex-wife, the ex-girl, and then that's just talking about in the more recent of situations. I could go deeper and talk about different stuff, and down the line I'll get you there. I could easily say that there's no good women. I could easily say I don't date this certain set of people because, and easily could justify those answers. But I don't. The reason why is because I would give anybody some run. I would give any female some run. Meaning that I would sit down, have one sit down with them, date, whatever, maybe want to know why.
I've seen you done that. I've seen you do that.
I would know why I would do that. It's because I would want to sit down just so I could see what they're about. Now, does that mean it's going to escalate to be something? No, 9 times out of 10, it may not.
May just be a good conversation.
It just may just be the conversation I needed to have. Maybe it's something that I need to instill in them to make sure that they're doing something good. Maybe there's something that I needed from them that's going to instill in me to do something or inspire to be different. Mm-hmm. Maybe talking with them gets me to do this. Maybe talking with them inspires me to get a podcast topic. Maybe talking with them helps them down the line that made me help their relationship. That happens more often than not. But I don't say that there's no good women out there, because there is. Now, is all of them designed to be with me? No. But you got to go through some to figure that out.
Go ahead, Vic.
This whole conversation, there's a lot that we can take away from it. It's just general advice, general wisdom. This can be applied to people in general. Granted, we are talking about more romantic relationships between man and woman. It could be just relationship in general with friends, family unit.
Same thing.
It's all the same. Relationships are relationships, and they're all generally approached the same way, just different intent for each one. So, essentially, with this is you don't want to inflict self harm. But I mean that is your mentality of it. You don't want to start shutting yourself down. Like Cam said earlier, you don't want to start being a closer. Right. You don't close it. If someone else does, oh well, it wasn't meant to be closed. It wasn't meant to be open. But don't do it yourself, because then you'll never know. Right. So this goes all the way back, many, many, many episodes ago.
Yep.
A little thing called risk and reward. Right. You need to risk it. You need to roll the dice.
Risk it.
I like the way he said that. Risk and reward, baby.
It is.
That's what it's all about.
But you cannot close, because see what your girl was doing. She was closing herself out on opportunities that she could easily have been like, maybe I'm open to the opportunity. She closed herself out.
Yeah, and I asked her like, what relationship or what an encounter or what something happened to you or what did you do to have something not work for you, or why are you saying that?
They don't want to say that.
They're not, and she didn't.
You want to know why she want to say that?
She
Because
didn't give me a proper answer.
Want to know why? Because a lot of people are not willing to admit that, yo, I went through this shaped what my thought process is, and this is why I think that there's no good dudes out there, because it's not just one person who did this. Here's what you're gonna get, and I'm gonna tell you what she's talking about. And I know a lot of females say this, and it's, and to certain degrees it's true, but that doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Well, this guy cheated on me. Then the next person I was with cheated on me. Then the next person I was with cheated on me. And they think it's them. They wholeheartedly think that it's something wrong with them, or the guys are so terrible that they would constantly cheat on them. So if one guy does it and the second guy does it and the third guy does it, so they're batting a 0 and her cheating rate on people is 100%. Now she thinks that all guys are like that. So every single guy that comes in behind those 3 guys since high school has always come to the mentality of, well, if this guy cheated on me in high school and this guy cheated on me in high school, I come out of high school and this guy cheated on me, and then 3 months later, this other guy who I was like trying to deal with, he cheated on me. Her cheat rate's 100%. So every guy behind that has to deal with these other knuckleheads who was behind you who cheated. So now she thinks all guys are bad because all guys cheated on me. She ain't gonna tell you this. But when she admits it to herself, and if she decides that she wants to see this, and she really dials in, that's what she's going to say. And so her mentality is, well, all guys cheat, so there's no good man because they all cheat. So you hear that all the time. All guys cheat. No. There's too many guys who are good, there's too many guys that are good, that are loyal, who will stay in the pocket and be with their person. Now, they may separate, maybe their relationship doesn't work, and maybe they separate. That doesn't mean that he was necessarily bad, and that doesn't mean that you are necessarily bad. Maybe just that situation just wasn't good for each other. Maybe it just didn't work. Certain times, certain situations just doesn't work. Even good relationships don't work. You ask, why do people have open relationships? Why do people try to add extra people into the mix? Now, I don't recommend doing that, but I understand. Don't get it wrong. It's not like I don't understand the philosophy of why. I'm not saying it's right.
No, I feel like you had something.
No, I'm gonna let them dive in one second. I'm not saying it's right, but I understand what their mentality is. It's like, look, I need somebody to balance this out, because what they're trying to do is substitute for that gap that's going to be in everybody's relationship. In friendships and as a relationship, it doesn't matter what it's going to be, because you got imperfect people, you're going to have gaps in everything. And so what people try to do is fill that gap.
Now, do you, Cam, believe in friends with benefits?
It's a dicey road.
Yeah, no.
Let's
say that's a dicey
road. That's a different conversation for a different podcast.
We're gonna keep that off. Now, make your
dicey road.
Make your point. Yeah, that's why I said it. Now we have something.
It's a dicey road.
Has it really been that long? Oh wow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's only 11. We can be good though.
Go ahead.
Well,
I did that on purpose too, not to cut you off.
But yeah, go. Let Vic rock.
No, polygamy is never good.
Exactly.
Polygamy is never good. It's in the Bible. Not only does it break one of the commandments, which
Facts.
you shouldn't commit adultery, which polygamy is adultery.
Facts.
On top of that, if you go all the way back into the first chapter, the first book in Genesis, there is polygamy, right? Between Abraham and his wife. He has these things called concubines.
Yep.
Right. They probably still exist somewhere in the world. But essentially,
y'all, you seen Sister Wives? You know what it is. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying you know what it is.
For those that don't know, what is a concubine? It's essentially a prostitute in the marriage. These are considered unmarriable women.
Right.
So they become concubines of men, not necessarily wives, but they're there.
Yep.
They never work out. They always cause problems. They always cause strife. They always lead to bad things happening. This still applies till today. If not, it's worse. And it's always been flaunted around. You see it in either shows or movies, and they try to portray it as
social media, especially.
Social media, especially, and remind you, social media is no different from TV.
Yep.
It is just like that, as in it's a production. It's all there just for it's like
it's for show.
Yeah, it's for show. And polygamy is just it's really bad. Don't ever consider it. If you need something like that to make whatever you're trying to do work, it's probably not worth it. You're doing a lot of risking here with very little, if no reward.
That's the part that I was going to get into. Is like you said it right there. The risk is way too high for the trade-off.
Because there's a lot of damage that can be done on pretty much every level of your life.
That's a fact.
So on polygamy, don't do it.
And this is why I said
it's a juvenile fantasy.
Right, because here's the thing. Here's where the part of the I get it. A lot of people go through what I call the flavor of the month episode. Everybody goes through it. You're with somebody for a period of time. In your head, it's like, oh, I want to see something different, or figure out like somebody, you see somebody different, like, oh, well, she's different than what I have. It'd be cool if. It's a bad mentality, because you got to understand, you're trying to fill a gap, but in filling one gap, you're creating a different gap, which is going to make your original gap bigger. So your little 10% may become 20% because you're trying to fill 10%. But you bring in another person in there, which causes the gap in the relationship to be much wider. This is part of the reason why you really don't want to dive down that rabbit hole, for a lot of different reasons. I'm just telling you the biblical principles. He is absolutely correct. No. I'm just telling it to you, just literally from a practical point of view. I'm just saying I'm just saying this from a practical point of view. I want people to understand, like,
it's like this is an intervention.
No. I'm just saying this from a practical point of view, because a lot of people, I could tell you all the biblical principles behind it, but they're not going to receive that, because every single thing that I've told you from a biblical perspective, practically, that makes it.
When you start telling people about the good word, their ears start to burn.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to tell it to you in a practical sense. Here's the practical of it. Stop trying to.
It's like a music. You're not supposed to listen. You're supposed to hear it.
You're supposed to listen to it, not just hear it.
You know what I mean, man.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm trying to coax some of your stuff, like
you're trying to be philosophical.
But it's just like, that's the reason why I said it's tough, because when you leave you alone. I'm gonna leave you alone.
This is why we could never concentrate, because of this guy. Anyways,
but it's just tough. It's like, but you just gotta just say, like, tell, if you double back and have that conversation, it's like, look.
I probably won't have that conversation.
No, I would be engaged in that conversation. I'd be like, I'd be like, look, do you? And I'll tell people off top, do you really want to have that conversation? Because you set the statement with the intent of, you know, a lot of girls say this statement, like there's not a lot of good guys, because they want people to rally around that statement. And what you got is a lot of women who've been in bad relationships and they're bitter. And so they're running through being bitter, and they'll be bitter with each other. Huh? No, forget that. They're bitter because they
no. He not wrong though.
Because they're bitter because misery loves.
That's on both sides.
It's misery loves company, and guys do this too. And we just do it in a different way. So we do the same thing. It's like, dude, you know, we be like, hey. They know that they like old girl on the side, but they don't want to approach her because they're too afraid or whatnot. And so they'll be like, nah, but she dead, she died, she lose, she a hoe, she all this stuff. They say all this bad stuff to try to negate the fact of, you know nothing about her, but you're just saying this because you're too afraid of, you can't talk to her. It goes both ways.
It's a psychological.
It's a versatile.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, there's either. They did what you did, where they viewed them as too high and they couldn't get to Gare, or they start breaking them down to make it seem like it's not worth it.
Right, but you got to get to the point where it's like, in your mentality, you got to say that realistically, if they are single and they're available, I have a chance. You got to give yourself a chance. And so in that chance, that gives you confidence. And that confidence, that gives you conversation. And that conversation gives you a fighting chance. Now, 9 times out of 10 is going to be no. So you got to be able to absorb the rejection. The one thing about, if you've ever been in sales, the one thing that they will tell you in sales is that 9 times out of 10, you may not have, you're not going to get a yes out of everybody. Out of every 10 people that you sell something to, your close rate is probably going to be 3 to 4. So that means you're going to have a 30 to 40%. If you're good, you'll have a 40% close rate. If you're average, you're going to have about a 25% to 30% close rate. So out of 10 females that you talk to, if you're really good, you'll get 4 of them to kind of progress that conversation along. If you're somewhat good, you'll get 2. But you got to get yourself to the point where you know that at the very least, I'm good for 2. But people have the mentality is, I keep getting shut down. I keep getting shut down. I keep getting shut down. It's like, look, you just ain't got to your 2 yet. You could close, but you got to have the mentality of a closer. What I mean by closer is that's a sales term. Is that closing means that I'm going to be able to sell this. You know what you're doing with, like I told you from jump. You are advertising yourself when you're talking to a female. You're selling yourself. Sometimes that is by looks. The very first thing you're going to get judged on is how you look like. And first thing they're going to tell you is that I ain't going to mess with you because you black. I ain't going to mess with you because you're 135 pounds. I ain't going to mess with you because, or fat. Or I ain't going to mess with you because you wear Puma and you don't wear Burberry.
Wait, what?
I'm just saying 2 different brand names. I'm just keeping it totally, because here's the thing, because females will go through that whole Rolodex of here's what I've seen, here's this. I ain't gonna rock with you because you work here. You work at Target, I ain't gonna rock with you. You work here, I ain't gonna rock with you. Because
see, that's the problem. Doesn't matter, as long as he got a job. They don't want to see that.
No. This is what I'm trying to tell you. So here's the thing. Facts. But you're going to get rejected for the simplest of things. So you have to come to the understanding that the reject rate for guys is going to be high. The reject rate literally for females is not going to be that much, because keep in mind, realistically, all they have to do is choose. That's what females understand. They say there's not a lot of good guys. You just ain't choosing right.
You know, fellas, and women as well, I suppose, it's very important to develop thick skin. Thick skin is very important. Now, You need thick skin to protect a soft heart. You should never harden your heart. Having a hard heart makes everything miserable. And trust me, you don't want that. Having a hard heart that is cold and unfeeling just makes it not anything worth it. Thick skin, on the other hand, does that. Thick skin protects a soft heart. So have thick skin. People are always going to say stuff about you. Mostly negative, because people like to be that way. But that doesn't mean it's all negative. This is why it's important you should engage with people. Whether it's just conversation or just hanging out with them. If you tend to be friends, that's great. If not, you try. Not just relationships in general. Experience is very important when it comes to people. Because if you have no experience, you're going to remain soft-skinned. Right. You're going to remain hard-hearted. When it should be the other way around.
And stop being scared. I know people get scared, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, Vic, but people get scared because they're so afraid of getting rejected. Because, like I said, high school mentality. They've been getting rejected since high school. So these people who've been rejected since high school, they get to college. They go to college, they get out of there. Super smart, making a whole bunch of money, but they can't get no female to save their life. There's certain people that's like that. But a lot of times you're closing yourself out on the opportunities and you're not opening yourself up to handling people. Because when you start talking with people, what you're going to figure out is, here's how these females respond. Here's how these dudes respond. Here's what happens when you're in these situations. You start to learn and experience, and then you could be like, well, here's how I maneuver in this space. So in certain spaces, I know how to maneuver differently. I maneuver differently when I'm at the job than if I touched down and went back to Long Beach State. It's differently if I'm touching down at Long Beach State and I'm sitting down in the hood playing dominoes. It's different how I'm maneuvering in the hood playing dominoes than how I'm hanging out with my family at a family function. It's different there than what I'm doing right here. Mm-hmm. I'm still the same dude, mm-hmm. but I know how to function. So I know how if a female came over and sat down right here and said they want to be involved in the podcast, does that change what we're talking about? No, I'm gonna come to them just exactly the same. I'm coming to just exactly the same as I'm telling y'all right now.
If anything, the episode would be enhanced.
Exactly. And like I said, you put a female there, guess what? The conversation, all that is going to be a different dialogue. But I'm not going to come at them any differently.
Same topic, different words.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing of, I'm not afraid of the no's. I'm not afraid of the rejection.
I'm not afraid.
Exactly. I know that
Eminem talking. Everybody. All right. Take my hand.
Enough of that conversation.
Take my hand.
So anyway.
So let's slide away from that.
TLDR for the people. Too long didn't read.
Go ahead, nerd boy fresh.
Anywho.